Hello, good afternoon, everyone, or good evening, good morning, wherever you're joining us from. Thank you for joining our info session today, our Ask InfoPlace session. Today, we are going to be talking about the changes, the recent updates from the province of Alberta on the Alberta Nominee Program. My name is Florence Akpan, founder and lead consultant here at InfoPlace Canada, and I have with me Asher Ali, one of our consultants as well, who will be answering your questions today during this session. Asher Ali, introduce yourself. Go ahead.
Hi everyone, my name is Aisha. I am an immigration consultant and case manager here at InfoPlace Canada. For those of you who know me or have met me before, it's nice to see you again. If you haven't met me before, it's nice to meet you. I actually live in Alberta. I moved to Alberta last year, so I've been here for about a year now. It is cold, I will tell you guys that, but it's a great place to be. And Alberta has put out some exciting updates, and we're really looking forward to talking to you all about this today.
Yeah, awesome. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a check here just to see if you can hear us. If you can hear us, just tell us where you're joining from in the chat. We just want to make sure that everyone can hear us. And a little bit of housekeeping while you're doing that is that it's a free session, and there's no structure to it per se. It is your session, basically. Anyone who's listening in here, we're just here to answer questions, because since the announcement yesterday, June 3rd, we've had a lot of inquiries on this, and we just wanted to come on here and answer any question and provide any clarity that you might need, and help you determine if maybe this is an option that you can explore to increase your chances of becoming permanent residents as well. So how we typically run this session, the chat session is then, thank you for everyone who has been leaving their names and saying hello and telling us where you're joining from. That's great. That's exactly what you're going to do with any question that you have about this Alberta update and programs or pathways to become permanent residents through the Alberta Provincial Nomination Program. So we're just going to answer it. We have about 40 to 45 minutes here to answer questions relating to Alberta today. We're going to just focus on that just so that we can get to everyone's question. And if we're done answering those and there are no other questions, then maybe we could take other immigration-related questions, because, of course, we do more than just Alberta and things like that. So we're going to get started. If you have any question about the latest update that came out, definitely put that in the chat, and we're just going to pick questions as they come up. But Asha and I are going to just start giving an overview of what the announcement are and the programs in this Alberta pathways as well. So Asha, over to you.
Okay, perfect. So as you guys have all seen, Alberta did put out an update regarding their opportunity stream, which was actually closed. They did close it in February, and it looks like they'll be reopening it on June 11th. So today is June 4th, which means we have exactly a week before they reopen it. So for anyone who's joining, you've joined at a great time. I am just going to share my screen with you all very quickly, and we can look at the updates together. Right. All right. And Florence, can you see my screen? Is it up there?
I can see your screen. Yeah, it's up.
Okay. Perfect. So we have two updates. The first one, Alberta Opportunity Stream acceptance resumes on June 11th. So that means as of June 11th, they're going to be resuming applications. They have put out some new guidelines. So it's not the same as it was before. It is a little bit different. This is important to know. Applications will be accepted on 7 dates for the remainder of 2024, which means if you're interested in applying for Alberta Opportunity Stream, you have to make note of these dates. It's very important. Each month, a specific number of applications will be accepted. When that target is reached, no further applications will be accepted until the next date. So it's really important that you guys are on top of these dates. And they have just let us know everything is subject to change. So Alberta has a nomination for 2024 of 9,750 allocations that has been allocated to them. So when we look into some of the new guidelines, they have changed it a little bit, as you will see. So as of June 11th, they have adopted a new approach for Alberta Opportunity Stream, which is what we're going to talk about, the Rural Renewal Stream, the Accelerated Tech Pathway, the Tourism and Hospitality Streams as well. So these are the dates. June 11th, July 9th, August 13th, September 10, October 8, November 5, December 10. Write those dates down.
Mm-hmm.
When the stream is reached, no further applications will be accepted. Very important that we keep that in mind. So the first thing I'm going to talk to you guys about is just Alberta's General Express entry stream. Then we'll get into the Alberta Opportunity stream as well. So the first thing is Alberta has a couple different ways that they've broken things down. They have a couple different streams. With the Express Entry stream, it is related directly to Express Entry. So you do need to already have a valid Express Entry profile. So you need to either be eligible for the Federal Skilled Workers stream, the Canadian Experience class, or the Federal Skilled Trade stream. It is limited to Tier 0 to Tier 3. So just like Express Entry. This is important to note as well. If you ever receive a notification of interest from Alberta, you need to submit a copy of the letter along with any additional information by email within 2 weeks of receiving that letter. That's not something that a lot of people know about. That 2 weeks is very important. You don't want to miss out on any opportunities there. Okay? They've also said they will not guarantee that just because you got a notification of interest, that means you're going to be invited to apply. So it's not an ITA, it's a notification of interest. Okay? So they've broken it down a little bit. We have family connection and primary occupation and demand, accelerated healthcare pathway, accelerated tech pathway in the priority sectors. So they're saying for 2023, we don't have the number updated on this page for 2024, but it was about 3,900 people, and they've broken it down with majority of the allocations for 2023 being in the family connection and occupation and demand. So minimum requirements, again, have a valid EE profile, be eligible for one of the streams that makes you eligible for EE. Your primary occupation in your Federal Express entry profile is an occupation in demand. Keep that in mind. So your primary occupation, when you create an Express entry profile, you have to choose a primary occupation, right? You have to intend to and be able to live and work permanently in Alberta, minimum CRS score of 300. So if it is a CRS score that is lower than 300, unfortunately, you wouldn't be eligible at this time. It's really important to keep that in mind. They do also have a list of occupations that are ineligible, which we will talk about shortly. You can't be a refugee claimant or subject to any sort of federal appeal or removal process. You can't have any other active nomination. So, for example, if you have a nomination under maybe the Alberta Opportunity stream or maybe the rural stream, you wouldn't be eligible for Express Entry at this time. Alberta Express Entry, not regular Express Entry. And then just general misrepresentation, things like that. So some factors that increase your chance of selection: job offer, you graduated from education within Canada, you have a family member who is a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident living in Alberta, French is your first language. I want you guys to draw your attention to this. Your Express Entry profile is valid for more than 5 months. So for example, if your Express Entry profile is maybe expiring next month, you might not have the best chance of getting a notification of interest from Alberta. Really important to keep that in mind. EE profiles are only valid for 12 months. So if you're interested in Alberta, it's really important that you keep on top of that. Ensure that your profile is valid for more than 5 months. So when we get into the family connection, which is one of the subsections within Alberta Express Entry, they are looking for somebody who has a parent, child, or sibling living in Alberta who's at least 18 years of age and a Canadian citizen or permanent resident. And you also have to have your primary occupation be an occupation that's in demand. So a lot of people often ask, how do we figure out what Alberta's occupation in demand looks like? It's not like it's on here, but they've given us some links here. So the easiest way to kind of navigate it is if you look at this short-term employment forecast. If you open that up, it's going to take you to Alberta's short-term employment forecast. Open up this link right here. If you focus your attention on high demand and moderately high demand, these are Alberta's occupations in demand at the moment. So you'll see we have a couple up here under high demand, and then moderately high demand is a little bit longer going into that second page there. Okay. And again, priority is going to be given to those with a job offer. So just keep that in mind. Alberta is really looking for somebody who has that connection to Alberta and also has a job offer from Alberta. That is really going to increase your chances of selection. The healthcare pathway, you also have to have a job offer from Alberta. These are the eligible kind of professions, so like a physician, nurses, nurse practitioner, physician assistant, occupational therapist, things like that, right? So it's important that you have the requirements to practice in Alberta and have the job offer in order to do so. And then we have the accelerated tech pathway. So with the accelerated tech pathway, again, they do require a full-time job offer in Alberta. And here, if you click into this is where you find the list of our accelerated tech pathway. These are the NOC codes that are eligible. So it's a couple pages here that you can take a look at. All of this information is directly on Alberta's Express entry page. And then the last thing is the agriculture, construction, tourism, and hospitality. So again, priority is going to be given to candidates with a verifiable Alberta job offer, right? And that is essentially what Alberta Express entry looks like. So just to kind of sum it up, have a valid EE profile, ensure that it's valid for over 5 months here, and try to see if you are eligible under one of these kind of substreams. And that is what Alberta Express entry looks like. They really are looking for somebody who wants that job offer. So keep that in mind. Before I move on, I'm just going to take a look at the comments here. Don't think we have any questions about Express entry. So I am going to get into Alberta Opportunity Stream. So this is the one where the update was published yesterday. So with the Alberta Opportunity Stream, as you'll see, they have paused it on February 15th. They're going to reopen it June 11th. So I want you guys to draw your attention to this as well. At the time your application to Alberta Opportunity Stream is submitted, number one, when it's submitted, when it's assessed. So regardless of how long it takes Alberta to assess your application, whether that's 1 month, 4 months, 5, 6 months, it doesn't matter. They want you to have valid temporary resident status in Canada that authorizes you to work. So you need to have a valid work permit. If your work permit is expiring soon and you're interested in the Alberta Opportunity Stream, you could potentially find yourself in a bit of trouble here because they want to ensure even at the time that they assess your application, your work permit is still valid. Okay, so a couple different work permits you can have. One that's based on a valid LMIA, LMIA exemption, which we have listed out here. There's an open work permit for vulnerable workers and family members of vulnerable workers. Here, this is where I want you guys to draw your attention again. A postgraduate work permit held by a graduate of an Alberta Advanced Education publicly funded post-secondary institution, right? So just because you have a PGWP and you're living inside of Alberta does not automatically mean you could be eligible for this stream. You have to have graduated from Alberta before getting that PGWP. And then that's what makes you eligible. So unfortunately, if you're an international student who did not attend education in Alberta, this stream might not be the best fit for you. Okay, a couple other work permits that IRCC has talked about in terms of public policies, right? And then we have ineligible applicants. So refugee claimants, draw your attention here again. Temporary residents living or working in a province or territory of Canada other than Alberta. So let's say you graduated from Alberta, maybe you left Alberta and now you're working in Ontario. Just because you held the PGWP from an Alberta institution, because you're now outside of Alberta and living and working somewhere else, unfortunately, you're no longer eligible. So if you're interested in the Alberta Opportunity Stream, if you graduated from Alberta, it might be your best bet to make sure you stay in Alberta to keep this option open. Okay, and then eligible occupations, there's a couple things here. So you must work in an eligible occupation in Alberta. There's work experience and job offer requirements, which we will talk about shortly. So keep this in mind here. Most occupations under NOCs 0 to 5 are eligible under this stream. So it's nice to see because a lot of provinces don't actually leave it open to individuals who have, occupations in maybe tier 4, tier 5. So that's a really great thing. List of ineligible occupations is publicly posted here for everyone to note. So it's quite obvious if you have an ineligible occupation that's posted here, unfortunately, this wouldn't be a good option for you. When we go into PGWP, postgraduate work permit holders, your occupation needs to be related to your field of study. So if you graduated from Alberta, went to school in Alberta, you graduated, got a PGWP, your occupation, the work experience that you're doing, the job offer that you have, all of it needs to be related to your field of study. So let's say, I don't know, maybe you graduated from accounting and now you are working as a baker. It's not related, right? So it's really important that it needs to be related for our PGWP holders. Right, so there are language requirements depending on the occupation, education requirements. So if you're not a PGWP holder, then you need to have at minimum completed high school or equivalent. If you are a PGWP holder, then there are additional qualifications here. So for our PGWP holders, your credential must be issued by an Alberta Advanced Education publicly funded post-secondary institution. If you click into this link here, it's going to show you the different types of publicly funded institutions we have in Alberta. So if it's a private institution, it might not be the best bet for you with this stream specifically. Your credential also needs to be an Alberta Advanced Education approved credential. So they've listed that out here. So post-diploma, diploma, undergraduate, graduate, and things like that. So work experience is also important. Your current occupation is the occupation you are working at the time your application is submitted. So let's say you submitted an application. If you changed your job and maybe it's a different occupation, that's going to cause a problem for you. Okay, and your current occupation must also match your work experience at the time your application is submitted. So there's a couple ways to meet the eligibility. You have to have either a minimum of 12 months of full-time work experience in Alberta within the last 18 months, or you can have a minimum of 24 months, so that would be 2 years, of full-time work experience in your current occupation in Canada or abroad within the last 30 months, or both. It can be a combination, right? PGWP holders, different kind of section here for them is they need to have 6 months of full-time work experience in your current occupation in Alberta within the last 18 months. So with the PGWP, if you're a PGWP holder who graduated from Alberta, lives in Alberta, working in Alberta, it's really important because they have a lot of extra caveats for the PGWP holders. So your work experience needs to be full-time, same occupation, authorized by IRCC. Student work experience here does not count. So it cannot have been gained while studying or doing a co-op placement, internship, anything like that, right? So unless you're a PGWP holder who completed a paid co-op as a part of your program, that's the only exception they have there. And then they go into eligible job offers. So your job offer needs to be a full-time permanent job offer in Alberta. Again, needs to be related to the occupation you've selected. You have to have the work experience. So couple things here in terms of the requirements: continuous full-time employment for 12 months or more, work in your occupation. Your wage needs to meet the provincial wage, things like that. So in terms of ineligible applicants based on the job offer, if it's part-time, casual, seasonal, regardless of how many hours you are working, that job offer is not eligible. If you're an independent contractor or basically somebody who's like self-employed, that's not going to work. If you work in a place of employment that is not zoned for commercial, so if you work for a business that's maybe home-based, doesn't count, right? And if you do not work, so here, this is also really important. In this day and age, a lot of people are working remotely. So if you do not work physically on the premises in Alberta, right, or you are telecommunicating from a location outside of Alberta, you're not eligible. So there's a lot of very specific caveats. Alberta is very, very specific here. So it's very important that you guys familiarize yourselves with this stream. As we have seen, they are changing the way that they're doing the Alberta Opportunity Stream. There's going to be limited draws, right? And once those caps are met, you have to wait until the next one. So make sure you have everything that you need. You check off all of your boxes before you go ahead and register any sort of interest with Alberta Opportunity Stream, or else we don't know what's going to happen. So just be very familiar with this information. A lot of the information is readily available online. So
awesome.
That is the Alberta Opportunity Stream.
Great. Thank you, Asha, for going through that. As you can see, it's a very there's a lot of requirements, and most of the times when IRCC or a province put out an announcement for a program, for a stream. Everyone is very excited about it. But one of the things that we do once we see an announcement is we're looking into the requirements just to really determine who will be eligible, who is not, what are the exceptions, who's in and who's out. And as you can see, just with those two programs that Asha has talked about, there is a lot of requirements and there's a lot of things that is really, every province is putting out programs to attract people to stay in their province. So you'll see that in a lot of their requirements, that they are really tying things to show that you have ties in the province, you have the job offer, you have the family member, you studied in the province. So a lot of those types of things are coming into play in these streams that do exist and things like that. I can see a couple of questions, but I'm just going to go over tourism here in very quick detail, because tourism again is tourism and hospitality is one of the streams, and this particular stream is one that basically you have to have a job offer as well, and not just any job offer. You have to have a job offer from there's an eligibility list of workers' compensation board industries that you have to have a job offer from, and they have to have certain clearances in place to be able to hire you and things like that. There's also a list of eligible occupations as well. I'm just going to share screen here just so that you could just see that. But that stream is not one where, oh, I have tourism, I've been working in tourism for X number of years and all of that, what is going on and all of that. But no, it is a stream that you still have to have. It is a stream that you still have to have work job offer in Alberta for you to have a chance of, really succeeding in that. So this right here is just the overview of the program, approved employer requirements. So first off, the employer has to even be approved in the first place to be on this list to give you that job letter to apply through this program. These are the industries and specific samples of activities that they're in. So not just any tourism related, they're very specific. And then, of course, the list of eligible sector associations as well that you could be working in and still qualify. And then it goes into occupation and employment requirements. So basically, what are the eligible occupations? So if you look at this, if you're in Alberta and you're working in any of these NOC codes here that have been listed in any of these jobs, and you can see it goes all the way from 0 to 5. So literally the whole band of the whole tier list is captured here, but specific jobs in this industry. If you have any work experience in this, then you can see that you have a chance, especially if your employer as well meets the requirements and has the job that is required for this particular stream. So that's the tourism stream, and it's job related. So if you don't have a job right now in Alberta in one of those with one of those types of employers that have already been listed, then you probably have a very slim chance of applying through that particular stream as well. Okay. All right. Then the next one there as well is, I'm going to stop sharing here. The next one, the second one that's on there is the renewal stream. The renewal stream is another really unique one. Has anyone heard about the Rural Northern Immigration Pilot Program? If anyone has heard about it, it is very, very similar to that stream as well. It's similar in that it's a stream where there's a list of communities that Alberta has approved to be a part of this program. And AIPP defines rural Alberta community as any community outside Calgary and Edmonton, or the sense or any area that is under 100,000 in population. So they actually have a list, and it's a very interesting list of communities that actually qualify under this. I'm going to share and just show you, because that's the first place. The community has to first of all be on that list, and then employers in that community can then apply as well. So let me show you what the list is here. So then you can see the communities that qualify. So City of Brooks, Grand Prairie, Town of Whitecourt, really small towns, as you can see from this list in Alberta, are the ones that would qualify for that. So they have to become designated. They have to go through a process of becoming designated before they can, before they'll be able to provide an endorsement letter to you for your application for the rural program there as well. So the renewal stream basically has two processes. One of the following community endorsement process, and then the candidate submits the application. So the community directly recruits a temporary foreign worker to meet the labor needs in that community, and then provides them with an endorsement letter. Or the community completes the Alberta Economic Mobility Pathway Program and refers process to recruit refugees. So this is one pathway that a refugee claimant could potentially have an opportunity as well if they fit into all of the requirements for those streams. So when you look at Alberta as a whole, one of the things that you'll find is they're very keen on one of the things that Canadian provinces struggle with is the fact that people come and they may not stay in the province, and they are trying to attract people to come in and stay in the province. So if that is the case, so they're trying to, in their policies and things they're doing, they're trying to achieve that. I don't think I don't think Alberta will be having much problems having people to stay these days, because everybody's moving to Alberta. I shall move from Ontario over there. Many others, probably thousands, have moved into Alberta in the last couple of years because it's been very attractive for so many people and all of that. But whatever the case, job offer still remains a key aspect of it. So if you're there and you're looking at this announcement that has come and all of the things that would be happening, the best way for you to prepare to get started, to be ready, is looking at your own eligibility, looking at all these programs we've talked about. We've talked about them generally now, and we're going to be taking questions soon. So if you have questions, keep popping them in the chat. We're going to come around and start taking those questions. Is to look at the eligibility requirements based on your own personal profile and see if you meet the requirements for it. The one program that you're able to probably get in, like if you're in the Express Entry pool and you meet most of the requirements and you're not in Alberta, would be the Express Entry stream. We've had candidates who have been successful through that particular path where they're not in Alberta, but they met the other requirements and maybe had a lot of times it's people who have family connections in Alberta that still get invited through the Express Entry stream anyway. So if you don't have the job offer, you don't have the connect in Alberta, a lot of times your chances are very slim, except you're in a highly in-demand type occupation, like in the health and the tech with the job offer and things like that, then that's where you have that option as well. So that's it. That's the overview of those key four main programs there, just in essence of time. We're going to take some questions here and then just see where we go from there. Okay. Adenike has asked, I want to ask if there is a pool for Alberta different from the Federal Express Entry pool. Asha, if you want to talk about that.
It's not a different pool. So Alberta typically does go ahead and nominate people from the Express Entry pool. Previously, with the accelerated tech pathway, what people were doing is if they were eligible for the tech pathway and they had the job offer and met all of the other eligibility requirements, they were submitting an accelerated tech pathway form, and that kind of put them in a different area. But the accelerated tech pathway has not fallen under this new update where they're going to be accepting monthly applications. So we'll have to see what happens. We'll have to see if they're going to continue to have that accelerated tech pathway form, or if that's going to be kind of integrated into the way that they're going to be doing these new draws. So the update is not 100% complete yet. A lot of our provinces, they'll put an update out there and they're still fine tuning and putting together their processes. But for right now, the pool is the pool, right? So in your Express Entry profile, a lot of the information that Alberta needs is already there. What I will tell you guys is there's a question when creating an Express Entry profile. What province are you interested in immigrating to? Select all the provinces. We say that time and time and time again, because if you limit yourself and maybe you were just interested in Ontario and BC and maybe Saskatchewan and you didn't select Alberta, you could have missed out on an opportunity for Alberta to nominate you, because they do draw directly from the pool. They do publish their draws. A lot of the draws that they're doing for this year have mainly been in healthcare with individuals who have the job offer in healthcare. We did see one agriculture draw, and I believe it was one construction draw. But those are people with CRF scores, Express Entry profiles.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think there's a question, just because you just talked about draws there, there's a question too there on draws. And I'm just going to share screen and just show you what has been happening with the Alberta draws as well, just to see what they've done so far this year. Because it usually gives you an idea of, do I have a chance here or do I not have a chance here? So Let's see what that is here. Where is it? Yes, this one. Okay. So can you see my screen? Can everyone see my screen now?
Yeah, we
Okay,
can see.
good. So right here, you'll see, I think these are the draws that have happened this year. So for
Mhm.
our May 1st, they had the dedicated health pathway, 40 people, quite a small number. They have been inviting over time. And as you look through it, you'll see that it's been a lot of health, and then construction. A lot of health draws have been happening in Alberta, and you can see what the cutoff there have been. So again, just like Asha had said, with the health category, you still need to hold a job offer and have that express entry profile as well. But if you're looking at what is going to be coming in the next couple of, in 7 days now, June 11th, there's going to be a draw. There's going to be quotas, targets that they have to meet. These are what the numbers look like. So when you look at this number, you can see that the Alberta opportunity stream is the highest. Express entry is even so small, and now they've said draws for other pathways and priorities are managed differently through the notification of interest process. Learn more by this. So here they've just put express entry accelerated tech draw. So does it mean that for the rest of the year it's just tech draws that are happening? That's what it's looking like on here. You can see that our better opportunity stream has 430, and it's in the 400s all through the year in terms of numbers and targeted intake and all of that. The renewal stream is it's next, and then you have the tourism as well. So this kind of gives you an idea of what Alberta's focus is. If you're looking at that province, and you should then be if you're in Alberta, because the Alberta opportunity stream is one that you cannot apply to if you're not living in Alberta. So if you're in Alberta, then you might have an opportunity. So now you need to take a deep dive into the eligibility requirements and have all your supporting documents and everything you need in place, so that when the portal opens for you to submit then you're able to get it before they meet their quota and their targets and things like that. Okay. The next one here. Emeka said, I'm from Nigeria. What if I don't have a family member? Are you still eligible? I think we just talked about that. These provinces are really trying to make sure they're getting people in that would have strong ties to the province and want to stay and all of that. So with a lot of the Alberta programs, is either you have a job offer or you have strong family connection or education. There are sometimes a combination of all of it. So Alberta might not be the greatest option if you don't have strong ties in that province or meet all of the other eligibility options that they have as well. Asha, there's a question here. Does co-op experience count for CEC? And please, I want some sort of acknowledgement to documents I sent for review. If you have sent in documents for us, please give it some time. Our team would definitely respond to you on those documents that you sent in. Thank you. Asha, go ahead and answer his first question.
Okay. Hello, Oluwatosin. I hope you're doing well. Co-op work experience counts towards CEC. So Canadian experience class does not count any toward like student work experience doesn't typically count towards Canadian experience class. They've been pretty upfront about it. If you are a full-time student and you've gained work experience as a full-time student, it doesn't count towards Canadian experience class. It won't give you any sort of anything towards eligibility, and it doesn't also any work experience gained inside of Canada while a student does not count towards the CRS calculation as well. So to keep it kind of short, for express entry CEC, I would say co-op work experience wouldn't count.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's right. Co-op doesn't count for CEC. Emmanuel also has another job offer. Is job offer too important? With Alberta, it looks like job offer is very, very important.
Yeah,
sure. It looks like it's very, very important. Is it correct that all immigration stream to Alberta requires job offers?
For the express entry, so when we talked about express entry, one of the kind of substreams within Alberta express entry was the family connection and occupation in demand. That one doesn't specifically say that you need a job offer. It says you need to have a family connection and have work experience, or just have the primary and not code be occupation in demand. But there's that kind of caveat there that priority will be given to those with the Alberta job offer. So although that kind of substream, family connection and occupation in demand, it might not require a job offer, I would say if you don't have a job offer in Alberta, based on what we've seen right now, Alberta might not be your best bet.
Yeah, absolutely. When is the next family connection nomination draw? We can't tell, right? Because it's a factor that that Alberta will consider based on who they send the invitation for to apply. So there's no specific family connection draw at this time in their plan based on what you've seen there as well. How do you indicate in your Federal Express entry application that you have family in Alberta? There's a section that's going to ask you the question when you're creating your profile, if you have any relative in Canada that is 18 years and older who is a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident. When you get to that section, that's where you would select if it's a brother, sister, mom, auntie, uncle, and then you would select that. And when you do, it would ask you the province that the person is living in. So we've had situations. In fact, there was a profile that I just completed a review for where the client actually had family member in like 2 provinces, and we had to pick based on that client's profile which one they should select and things like that, which one they'll have the highest likelihood of potentially receiving an invitation. So we look at that and then take a look at the programs that do exist in those provinces versus your profile itself, and then choose one. So if you have siblings in multiple provinces across Canada, unfortunately the system only allows you to pick one. So you're going to have to play it really safe and figure out which one would be your best bet to choose one, but you're able to select it in your profile when you're creating it.
To just add on a little bit there, for family connection in Alberta, it's important to note it is based on the principal applicant. So if you have an in-law who lives in Alberta, unfortunately, that's not what Alberta's looking for. They want that family member to be either your parent, your child, or your sibling, not your husband or your wife's. It has to be your own.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. Thank you, Asha, for that. That's always the extra. I think there's even sometimes where people come and like, oh, I have a family member and he's a cousin. Like Express Entry doesn't even consider it. Alberta would not even touch it. So it's very important to clarify those as well. Okay, Moses says, thank you for the information session. Thank you for joining. Please, for someone with an IELTS of this, is there an alternative aside Express Entry? Moses, you just need to do your IELTS again and get a 6 in your reading, and you will get in the Express Entry pool. Let's not look for an alternative. The rest of it, you have flawless result. Like look at 8, 8.5, amazing result. I don't think you should give up on your IELTS. Maybe even ask them to do a remark. Did you know that you could get your language test remarked as well? So maybe consider that. But you're really close, because if you at least get a 6, you might be eligible if you have your 67 points to submit an Express Entry profile. But alternatives, there are pathways that do exist in Canada for permanent residents that are not Express Entry linked. It would really, really depend on your profile, what it looks like, what you're eligible for. And this is where I always say having a one-on-one session with one of our consultants would give you a little bit more insight as to what is available. Will you be eligible for it? That would be a different story. But sometimes just even knowing what's out there makes it easy for you to prepare, because sometimes there may be something out there that just needs you to do a little bit of one additional thing and then you qualify. Or getting into the Express Entry pool is always a great option, and I always recommend that to anyone looking to come to Canada, because it's a good starting point. A lot of provinces, just like we're talking about today, Alberta invites from the Express Entry pool if you meet certain criteria. Saskatchewan invites from the Express Entry pool. Ontario invites from the Express Entry pool. Manitoba sometimes invites from the Express Entry pool. Nova Scotia, so many provinces rely on the Express Entry system. New Brunswick, if you have a profile there, you can have a profile here. They rely on what the federal government has already put in place to select candidates and things like that. So it is worth it to not give up on trying to get the scores and meet the eligibility to get into the Express Entry pool itself. But overall, it will really depend on where you are, what your options look like. And a one-on-one session might probably hash that out and clean that up, portray that better for you to see as well. Okay. Kevin has a question. So do we need to select all provinces when creating an Express Entry profile, Asha?
Yes. Yes, you should. You should. It's pretty simple, right? Because even if, this is what I tell people all the time, right? If your end goal is to come to Canada, get permanent residence, or transition from whatever temporary residence you have into permanent residence in Canada, you have to open up your mind to moving somewhere that maybe you don't want to. Maybe you don't want to. Maybe it's not what you want. But if your end goal is PR, sometimes it's worth it, right? You have to live there for a couple of years. Typically, I recommend living there until you meet your residency requirement. And then from there, once you get your citizenship, you're free to go wherever you want, right? So even if maybe you don't want to live in Saskatchewan or you have a family member who's in Ontario, whatever the case is, select all the provinces. There's a question that says I don't know the exact wording, but it's something along the lines of what province are you interested in immigrating to? And one of the options is all of them. So just click all of them. Don't hand pick which provinces and be nitpicky. The end goal is permanent residence. Canada is Canada. I've lived in Ontario. I live in Alberta now. I've been to Saskatchewan.
I live in Saskatchewan.
I've been to BC, so I've seen a lot of our province. I've been to Quebec also. I have seen a lot of Canada, and to be honest, it's all kind of the same. So if you want to come to Canada, select all the provinces.
Yeah.
You don't want to miss out on any draws. You don't want to limit yourself.
Yeah. And again, if it comes down to that there's a specific place you want to be or not, then it just means if that doesn't work, then Canadian PR might not be on the table for you and things like that as well. Things have really changed with getting PR right now. It's very competitive. There's a lot of demand for it, and it's like the rules are changing every day. Things are tightening up. Programs are closing, pausing, opening. So you want to use every opportunity that you have to get to permanent residence and things like that legally, of course. Very important to do that. Okay. I am an international student in Calgary, and I have a blood sister as well here. Do you think I'm eligible for the Alberta Express entry pool? Asha.
Well, my first question is, do you have a valid EE profile? Are you eligible for express entry, period? Right? So if you're eligible for express entry, you already have the EE profile. Is it valid for more than 5 months? Yes, I hope. If it's valid for more than five months, then like there's no
your score
300. Yes, exactly. 300 CRS score. If you have the blood sister in Alberta, you also have to have the occupation in demand based on Alberta's occupational list. So it's not as straightforward, am I eligible or am I not eligible? It's you have the family member. If you have the family member, do you have the occupation in demand? If you have those both, do you meet the other eligibility requirements? And again, keep in mind, with Alberta Express entry, there's no way to straight up apply. It's not like you are saying, hey, Alberta, I want to apply to your stream. Alberta, they go in and they nominate from the pool, right? And there are certain factors that increase that likelihood of getting nomination. So if you're in the pool, you indicate Alberta, you show them that you have the family member, there might be a chance for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Asha. Awesome. We're almost coming to the end of our session here. Betel has a question here. Is it okay to have an LMIA caregiver job opening and recruit a sibling to fill the job? There are no, if it's an LMIA opening and you have a sibling who meets the requirements for it, you can invite your sibling to fill that position. There's no restriction on that. But what I would state is they have to have the work experience to do the job. If it's a caregiver job, they have to have proven at least 1 year work experience that they have worked in caregiving. They have that experience to be able to do that job before it flies with IRCC, because the fact that you're a sibling offering that job, it will be highly scrutinized because they would want to make sure that it is a legit job offer and it's not just for the purposes of getting an LMI and a work permit and things like that. So that due diligence needs to be done as well. We have actually worked with a client of ours who apply for an LMIA for a sibling to come in for a role in Canada who had a business and was able to do that. And legitimately, the brother had the skills, the expertise, and everything he needed, not just 1 year, tons of years of experience, and was the best person to do that job. So what I would state is it's not just about, is it a sibling, but it's the bigger question is, does your sibling have the expertise to do the job that you're trying to hire them to do? Yeah. I hope that answers your question better. Okay. All right. So I think we're almost done. Thank you, Moses. Moses says thank you. Yes, please do your IELTS and get that profile created. Kevin said, I have a 6.5. Do I qualify to create a pool? Kevin, is not just about having a 6.5. It is about the 4 language factors that you have to have that meet the minimum requirement. If it's IELTS, the minimum is 6 on all factors. But even a 6 on all factors doesn't mean that you qualify, because you need to meet the 67 point criteria on the FSW grade. That's if you're outside of Canada and you don't qualify for Canadian experience class or skilled trade. This is federal skilled I'm talking about. So there's a lot of things that you need to do. In addition, you need to have the work experience as well, the skilled work experience, at least 1 year. All that has to be in place before we can say if you qualify or not. So Kevin, what I'd say, have a session, book a session with Asha. She's going to look through your stuff and let you know if you have meet the eligibility to qualify. And if you don't, one of the things our consultants always do is that you're going to walk away from the call having an action plan. You're going to walk away having a plan on how you can actually get to get an express entry or increase your chances of receiving an ITA and things like that. So you always want to do that when you're in doubt. You can schedule that call with us. All right. Actually, you could just drop the link there as well for our consultation page to anyone who is looking to as well. Sandra has a question here. So now I think we're done, Alberta. If anyone has, we have like 10 minutes left. If you have any other immigration related question and you're listening in and you want to ask, you have 10 minutes, throw that in the chat. Asha and I will answer a couple of them before we wrap up our session here today. Sandra has a great question here. How long will you stay in Canada before applying for permanent residence as a student? Sandra, are you following us on our social media platform?
I was waiting for you to say that, Florence.
Sandra, are you following us? You should go check out our Instagram page. There is a post there where I actually did one, and it came from a question from a client. We even have blogs on it as well. As an international student in Canada, you don't have to wait until you graduate before you start exploring your PR option. In fact, 2 weeks ago, we had a client of ours who is still a student and has successfully become permanent resident. She received a COPR last Friday. She came into this country less than a year ago. When she arrived, she had a consult with our consultant, the consultant that worked with her. And the consultant told her exactly what her eligibility was, what she needed to do. I think she just left a Google review for us today, actually. And it was really fun reading her story of all her journey working with us and things like that. But after the call, she realized, I can create an express entry profile. She did her IELTS, got her ECA done, met the requirements, submitted a profile. And guess what? She had work experience as a nurse from her home country. And in March, I believe in March, March, there was a healthcare draw that happened. The cutoff was 422 and she received an ITA. We applied for PR for her and in 2 months, she got her permanent residence. So long story to answer your question, because I want you to remember it, that it's possible and it happens, that if you have prior education, you have prior work experience, you don't have to wait until you graduate before you start looking at your options for PR. You can start looking at it immediately. You don't have to wait until you get into Canada, because think about it. People who are not even in Canada are getting receiving ITAs and applying for PR. How much more you that is here and maybe has some of those requirements? So don't think that you have to wait. Now, graduating from Canada might get you more points. And maybe when you talk to a consultant and look at your situation, you actually still need to graduate to get the points that you need. But it doesn't hurt to start looking at it ahead of time so that you know exactly what you need to do on time to get to permanent residence. So great question. And I hope that this helps you. So if you have education, you have prior work experience, don't wait. Start calculating your score right now and see if you can meet the 67 points to get a profile created. All right. I think I threw the floor open. And
the questions are flooding in.
I just 10 minutes and I'm seeing like how many questions. So let's see how many we can get through here. Okay, well, that was Sandra. Bethel, how can we work with you? I'm going to leave our contact us form here so that you can just send the request right in directly to the team, and we'll work with you through that as well. I don't have immediate sibling relative in Canada, but I'm in express entry. I'm thinking you're just making more of a comment. You don't necessarily have to have a sibling to have receive an invitation through express entry. You completely can if you meet other the CRS cutoff, or you're in one of the category draws. If you're here, we actually had an immigration open floor Q&A session yesterday. It is still live on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. You can actually watch it again, and because we talked a lot about various ways to get PR, study, visiting. It was all questions in that particular session. So you can take a look at that as well. Tunji has a question here. Hi, please, does it affect me if my primary NOC code is different from the NOC code I am currently working in? And Tunji, for this question, we will say, where are you? Who are you? One of the things I said yesterday was, with a lot of immigration questions, you have to ask 10 more questions to be able to answer. Now, if you're just asking this because you're in the Express Entry profile, it doesn't matter. I have a client who just became PR today. She just got approved all her life. She's been a medical doctor. She came into Canada to study, and she's been working as a business analyst after she did her master's, and she still got her PR. Her work experience right now did not match what she had before, or even what her primary NOC code was. Okay, so if it's Express Entry, it doesn't. But if you're looking at a province like Alberta, you're trying to apply through one of their streams. Yes, there is one of the opportunity stream that wants the primary NOC to be the same NOC that you're working in, the one that you're intending to work in, and the same with some other provinces as well. So it would really depend on where you're looking at to determine exactly what your options are there. Okay. Gladness has a question. Asha, I'll let you read that one, so I take a break.
Okay. What are the chances of getting a job offer in Alberta while waiting in the pool from outside of Canada? Honestly, there's no straightforward way to answer that. It really depends on maybe the type of job that you're applying for, the employer that you're applying for. What are your skills like? What are your qualifications like? It's just like getting any other job. We don't know. There's no way of us telling you what the chances are of getting a job offer in Alberta. If you have the skills and the qualifications an employer is looking for, and they're willing to work with you despite you being outside of Canada, it's definitely possible. What I always recommend in situations like this is we have the job bank. There's the Canadian job bank. Within the job bank, if you guys play around and toy with it a little bit, there is a filter for employers who are looking for people who are open to, working with individuals both inside of Canada and outside of Canada. I think that the term is like international candidates. Maybe use a filter like that, because that employer might be more willing to hire you versus somebody who is strictly looking for somebody who's a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident. So the chances are, it depends. Sorry,
Yeah.
I wish I could give you a more straightforward answer, but it really comes down to numerous things, and just keep trying. You never know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just getting job offers are tough. And I usually also tell people, if you're outside of Canada and you're looking for a job offer, in the job bank as well, you can filter to employers that already have LMIs and things like that. That would help you. The other thing that I would always say too is, don't look for the job in Calgary, Vancouver, Toronto, Ottawa. Don't do that. Try to look for, even Saskatchewan, don't even, like Regina, Saskatoon, those are still considered big. Go into the smaller towns and the smaller cities, because that's where people get, surprisingly, from outside their home country, get jobs. I've met people who completely applied on their own to a job in a small town here in Canada. They got interviewed, they got the job. It was all legit. And while we're talking about jobs, don't pay anyone for a job. You're not, as an potential employee looking for a job, you're not to pay anybody to get you a job in Canada. If someone is asking you to pay for a job, you're probably working towards something that is illegal, and something that could come back and bite you in the ass in a couple of years or something like that. Like, don't do that. So there are legit ways, and if not, then you're exploring the other ways to get jobs in Canada as well. Yeah. Okay. Hajay has a question. Is experience in agriculture considered skilled or under the trades category? Go ahead, Asha. Can you answer that one for her?
I don't think it's a trade. It depends on the NOC code. I don't think it's under the trades, from my understanding. I don't think it's a trade. I think trades are more like plumbing and like electrician and just like, like more hands-off, like blue-collar work. But it can be considered skill depending on the NOC code. So that's what it's going to come down to. If you go on the NOC website and you find your job, every single NOC code has an associated tier with it. We have tier 0 to tier 5. So if you're within tier 0 to 3, that's considered skilled. Anything 4 or 5 is not considered skilled at this time for Express Entry, right? So I would say determine your NOC code and look at the tier level based on your NOC code, and you can determine whether it's skilled or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if this question too is in relation to the category-based draws that are currently happening. There is an agriculture category, and there are 3 occupations under that category as well. So if your work experience is in one of those jobs in that category, then you know that you probably have a chance of receiving an ITA. And the agriculture stream is a it's a stream that the cutoff is usually very low. So sometimes the scores are not even in the 400s. I've not checked recently. I don't even think they've had one.
They don't draw that often.
They don't draw that often for agriculture. I think last year was just a couple of times, and the lowest for that category was like 3 something when they did. So you might want to look at that. There are 3 occupations in that category. We actually had one client to use that. I think it was a supervisor knock code in that category to get PR. So it's not trades. There's a different trades category that has the listing of the occupations that fall under that category as well. Okay. All right, perfect. Thank you. Olani has a question. Want to book a consultation, subsidize, reduce. Olani, consultations, as you can see, are tough, right? Because when you consult with us too, it's not just a one stream, especially PR consults that the team is looking at the consultant. Your consultant is looking at your whole assessment of what your options are and things like that, and advising you, and you're walking away from that session with a plan. What I usually tell people sometimes is, we've seen mistakes when you're looking at getting a professional to help you on your immigration journey. It's important not to look at it as an expense, but more as an investment, because one session with a consultant could have saved you the ripple effect of errors and things that we see people go through. People get to a point where they regret not even doing it in the first place because of all the things that now happen. You get into, like, there was a client that recently contacted us, and he was so confident that he had included his ECA in his express entry application. And we're like, well, you included it and they marked it wrong, because I'm always up for a fight, because I don't like it when IRCC does not treat people fair and things like that. And I'm always like, no, it shouldn't happen. So I'm telling the team, I'm like, get them in. We're going to do a reconsideration. Like, why would they refuse him when he submitted an ECA? And then we look at the documents, and the guy did not submit an ECA. He literally submitted an ECA for the US. He used the number for that and everything. And then IRCC wrote to him and said, give us an ECA. He still did not think he needed one because he studied in the United States. His application was refused. His cutoff does not exist anymore. They don't do those types of draws. He's just lost that opportunity, right? So even if as simple as just having that advice and knowing exactly what the documents are, look at what it could save you from and things like that. So little things, police clearance, the smallest thing, when to apply, when not to, do you have a chance? Should you be taking a second program? Should you be talking to your employer right now to see if they can sponsor you? There are different types of advice that people get from those sessions. So when you think about it, I always say, if you really want to stay in Canada, look at it more as an investment to your opportunity to remain in Canada. And then you realize that it is just a small price to pay, small investment that you have to do to be able to achieve your immigration goals. Yeah. Tunji said here, I'm asking because I currently use NOC from Nigeria as my primary NOC. I think, Tunji, I answered your question when I was saying all of the things I said. It all depends on which province or what you're targeting. If it's express entry, you doesn't have to be the one that you're working in. All right. I think that's it for us. We're right on time here. Any last words, Asha, to people on here today looking to explore Alberta or any province in Canada?
I saw a comment. It was like one of the first comments, and somebody said, "Is it colder than Saskatchewan?"
Oh, thank you. Oh my God.
Like, the answer is no. I think I could be wrong. Florence, correct me. We always argue about this. I think Saskatchewan is colder, but that's just my personal opinion.
Joshua, thank you for putting that out there. I can tell you, having lived in Saskatchewan for almost 20 years, Alberta is as cold as us, sometimes even colder. There will be snow in Calgary in June, and we have sunshine in Saskatchewan.
Oh God, so. I think it was in May that it was snowing. I can't even lie to you guys. It is cold.
It is cold. It is cold.
It's a different type of cold.
Yeah, but the thing with the Alberta cold is they do have waves, and it would blow away a little bit. In Saskatchewan, it could.
We don't get too much snow. I think you guys get more snow. That's my opinion. I've lived in Ontario. Ontario gets the most snow from what I've seen, in compared to Alberta and Ontario. I think they get more snow and we get more cold.
More
but
cold. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
let's get
So it's
cold.
very different. Just prepare. When you come to Canada, it is cold. Whether you're in
Yep.
Ontario,
I
you're
think Manitoba is the coldest province. Like I think Winnipeg.
Winnipeg, Saskatchewan, they compete. Like it's hard to tell. Like all of us in the West are pretty
We're
cold.
all
So if
cold,
you're coming
except
to
for
the West,
Vancouver.
yeah, except for Vancouver, yes. Vancouver
Mhm.
is you're getting with the rain and all of that. But Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Alberta, don't think you're getting anything different when it comes to weather. There will be winters, they will be cold. So come prepared and you will survive because we've been surviving here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you all. If you have any questions, just like I've said, we do have one-on-one consultations that you can reach out to us. I said I was going to leave a contact us form. I'll probably do that still as well. So you have that. Reach out to us, send an email into the office, and we will do our best to guide you. If you're looking at Alberta, take the time to go and read through all the things we talked about. You could see us. We're sharing right on the Alberta website and walking through it. It's online there. If you need more assistance, more clarity, just book that one-on-one session and someone would be able to work with you on that as well. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. Bye.
Bye everyone.
Bye.